Welcome back to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. Well, today, man, they are playing in our face about Shedeur Sanders. What is this Cleveland Browns organization going to do with Shedeur Sanders? It's a lot of jibber jabber out there about Shedeur Sanders, and we need to clear all this up. But we're going to unpack all that here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, Cleveland Browns organization is playing in our face about Shedeur Sanders. What are they going to do with Shedeur Sanders, man? We've been covering this story ever since Shedeur Sanders was drafted with the Cleveland Browns. We know what went on in training camp, everything that's being said about Shedeur, the media. People think that Kevin Stefanski and this organization are trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders. And a lot of people want answers. So we've been covering this story as it unfolds. Now, how did we get here? Shedeur Sanders was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in the 5th round, the 144th pick. And a lot of people said it's a lot of collusion going on in the NFL. And that's why Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round. Now, we know Shedeur Sanders is not a 5th round talent. I've always said he's a 1st round talent, 2nd round talent. Me personally, I thought he should have been the number 1 pick to the Tennessee Titans, and that's no knock on Cam Ward. And as things progressed, we get into training camp, and you had 4 quarterbacks in training camp. You had Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, because he was the 3rd round pick, and then also you got Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders was 4th on the depth chart, and then they brought Tyler Huntley in, to get him some reps. So you had 5 quarterbacks in training camp, and everybody wanted to know what they was doing with Shedeur Sanders. Why Shedeur Sanders ain't getting 1st team reps. We done heard all through the media how they're doing Shedeur Sanders. We done heard everything that Kevin Stefanski has said about Shedeur Sanders. Every time people ask him a question about Shedeur Sanders, he tries to backpedal and don't want to face it head on and even mention Shedeur Sanders. So that's why the media and people in the YouTube content creation space have always said that the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski are trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders. Prove me otherwise. So now Joe Flacco gets traded. Now Shedeur Sanders promoted to quarterback 2 to back up Dylan Gabriel because Dylan Gabriel's the starter. We've seen what Dylan Gabriel has done in the first 3 games of his starts. And a lot of people have questioned, has he progressed in his starts? Now, this is what I will say. With Dylan Gabriel right now, Dylan Gabriel's stats, they don't look impressive. In his 3 starts, he's the 2nd worst among 34 qualified quarterbacks. Look at his completion rating, 59.8%. Yards per game, 109.2. Passing TDs 3. He got a total QBR of 30. That ranks 33rd. That's the 2nd worst out there. So basically, there's a lot of chatter about Shedeur Sanders. Now we got rumors out there. We heard from Tony Rizzo, inside source, saying that Shedeur Sanders will start the last 4 games of the season. Well, how true is that? Because now rumors are out there about a potential trade for Shedeur Sanders. And one of the teams that has been elevated in that trade is the New York Jets with their wide receiver. And the thing about it is, Shedeur Sanders, the way Tony Grossi made it seem, is that nobody has entrance in Shedeur Sanders. So now we at this point where all of a sudden, surprisingly, guess who comes back into the fray? Deshaun Watson. Now there's possibility of Deshaun Watson after the bye week being cleared for all football activities. So where's that put Shedeur Sanders? Now the trade possibility with the New York Jets is surrounded around their big time play receiver in Garrett Wilson. So today, Tony Rizzo and Tony Grossi on their show was talking about this developing story and where does this leave Shedeur Sanders. So we're going to take a listen to what Tony Grossi and Tony Rizzo talked about the possibility of trading Shedeur Sanders when the trade deadline hits. But before we get off into that, this is a word from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, get every pick right, and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us. And thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy.
Now, guys, with that being said, let's listen to Tony Rizzo and Tony Grossi talking about this developing story on the possibility of Shedeur Sanders now being shipped out of Cleveland. Let's take a listen.
He thinks there's a possibility the Browns could deal Shedeur Sanders before the trade deadline. Would that then open up an opportunity for them to activate Deshaun Watson? Do you think that's totally off the table, or is there a possibility Sanders could be dealt?
Well, they're covered if that opportunity arose, because first you got Zappy, who could serve as an emergency number 2 until Deshaun Watson's ready. I've heard that they anticipate having him cleared medically after the bye week. Watson, correct. Which means they would then have up to 3 weeks to activate him, or they could activate him sooner than that. So timing-wise, it can happen. I just question who's, inquiring about Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
But
Tony Grossi,
if the Browns feel that they're covered and they have an offer.
Man, now do you hear what Tony Grossi had to say, man? He always keeps on saying who is inquiring about Shedeur Sanders. That's why I tell you guys, the Cleveland organization and this media tribe, they playing in our face about Shedeur Sanders, man. And it's unbelievable on the lengths that they go to fabricate some things that don't need to be fabricated. And that's the sickening part of it, because Tony Grossi keeps this narrative out there that ain't nobody checking for Shedeur Sanders. Now, all of a sudden, trade deadline's coming up. Now y'all want to talk about Deshaun Watson being in play on this Cleveland Browns roster and elevating Bailey Zappi. Come on, y'all. Make it make sense, man. I told you guys, man, everything's smoke and mirrors when it comes to Shedeur Sanders with this organization, man. They playing in our face. We don't know what's going on with Shedeur. And Shedeur is a real one for holding it down, doing everything in his power to be prepared to get on that field. And the reports came out, it's a possibility he's going to start the last 4 games of the season. Now we don't know how true that is, because Tony Rizzo said he got it from a credible inside source, 2 people. And then we heard the things, what Mary Kay Cabot said about his development and lead arm talent. But y'all know how we feel about Mary Kay Cabot. She's a flip-flopper. But this notion of now all of a sudden, is it a possibility of trading Shedeur Sanders during the trade deadline? Everybody hopes that he gets traded, but they've invested 4 years in Shedeur Sanders. Me personally, I don't think he's going nowhere, but they playing in our face about Shedeur Sanders. Y'all guys let me know what y'all think down in the comments section. Are they playing in our face about Shedeur Sanders? I see everybody in the comments section. #salute. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh, yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.